Welcome to the Whiskey Explorer. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If this is your first time on the channel, if you could please do us a quick favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave us a comment down below, let us know what you thought about the video, and also what you think about this whiskey. If you've tried it yet, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And tonight we've got new to our market, a new bourbon. This is the Yellowstone Select from Limestone Branch Distillery. All right, so Limestone Branch Distillery, kind of an interesting history there. So this is actually following the Beam lineage, and of course everyone's heard of Jim Beam. It was actually Jim Beam's father who had two brothers that were involved with the Limestone Branch Distillery and also have a rich history of distilling bourbon whiskey in Kentucky. So throughout the years there was sort of a buying and selling of the distillery, and it was actually revived again in 2011, around 2010, 2011, by Steve and Paul Beam. And so they're kind of continuing on the history, and it's sort of become a family distilling operation there for that part of the Beam family. And what's cool about Limestone Branch Distillery is that they're actually producing their own spirit. So today in the whiskey business, it's really expensive to start up a distillery. Lots of people that are starting a distillery, they'll maybe start making their own product, but while they're waiting for that to mature, they have to have an income stream. So they'll either produce other spirits like gins and vodkas, things that don't take time to age, or they'll get into the game of the non-distilling producer. Non-distilling producers are ones that are actually not creating anything. So they're actually sourcing their whiskey. So they might buy barrels from MGP and some of the larger sort of kind of wholesale operations like that, or they might do contract distilling through Barton or another distillery. They're not actually producing their own product, right? They may do some blending of different barrels and then they're bottling that and selling it under their label. But that's what I find is really cool about Limestone Branch Distilling, is they're actually creating their own products, and their flagship product is this Yellowstone Select Bourbon, bottled at 93 proof or 46.5% alcohol by volume. So this one is actually a single barrel store pick. This was part of our spirit release here in British Columbia, and brand new bourbon to our market, but they actually just released, right after the spirit release happened, they also released in select stores the regular Yellowstone Select. And to give you an idea on price point on this single barrel Select was $100 for the spirit release, and the regular Yellowstone Select that isn't a single barrel product that's batched together, that one was actually about $71.99. So huge variance in the single barrel, which isn't typical of the BC liquor store. Normally the store picks are usually only about $5 more, which I'm happy to pay. This actual bottle here is on loan from me from Kyle, so thank you very much, Kyle, for loaning me this bottle. So this particular single barrel is aged 4 years, but from what I understand, the new Yellowstone Select is actually batched together, sort of a blend of 4 and 7-year-old bourbons. So that's kind of interesting to note. Let's get right into the review on this one. So I've already poured it here, given a little bit of time to air in the glass, and we'll go in for a nose. Cheers. Wow, I really like the nose on this. Surprising for a 4-year-old bourbon. I would expect to get a lot more of the grain and harsh kind of youth notes in there, but I'm not getting any of that at all. This is all caramel, butterscotch, vanilla, and cherry on the nose. I really like that nose. It's just a combination of vanilla, cherry, a little bit of caramel, some sugar and honey in there. Wow, really good nose for a 4-year bourbon. Impressive. All right, let's give it a taste. Cheers. That's interesting. So initially I got a lot of sweetness on the palate. I was hit with like vanilla, caramel, the cherry note for sure falling through there. So very, very similar to what I was picking up on the nose. Then mid-palate, I started to get the astringency. So that's the mid-palate is where the youth of this bourbon starts to show up. So that's where, for me, it falls apart just a little bit because you get sort of a bitter note. And I just think that's from the youth of the whiskey. So I think it just hasn't had quite enough time in the barrel. I would love to try that at 7 years, which it seems they're batching together for the Yellowstone Select 4-year and 7-year. But I'd love for them just to come out with a product that's just 7-year, or the distillery is just about 9 or 10 years old now. So a 10-year-old bourbon from Yellowstone would be awesome to see. I think that would give it a lot more time to mature in the barrel and get some of those sweeter, sort of more sweet oak notes kind of flowing for this one. So there is like a wood note, but it's not the sweet oak note that I'm usually looking for. It's a little bit astringent, a little bit tannic, a little bit brash, so there's some sharp edges on this in the mid-palate, but the initial flavor of it is very nice on the palate. I'll go in for a second sip and see if I can get some more notes here for you guys. Cheers. Yeah, really inviting nose. Cherry, vanilla. Then there is a little bit of nuttiness on the nose there as well, kind of reminding me of a Jim Beam profile on the kind of like walnut kind of pecan type of nose as well, kind of mixing in there. All right, second sip. Cheers. Again, same experience. Really, it's vanilla, cherry, some caramels, a little bit of brown sugar on the palate up front. Mid-palate. Mid-palate is a little bit sweeter this time. Not as much of that bitter astringency and the ethanol note I was getting from before, kind of the astringent alcohol. So it's mellowing out just a little bit. A little bit of spice in the background there, so the finish is a little bit spicy, so a little bit of black pepper, a little bit of cinnamon. So all in all, I think this is a really decent bourbon. Where I struggle with it is the price point. So $100 on this one would be too much, I think, for my wallet. Even at the $70 price point, I don't think it's a buy. I have seen this in other markets like in Alberta, and in Alberta it's about $50. So at $50, I think it's a buy. Anything above $50, I think it's just a bit overpriced for what it delivers. Unfortunately, here in Canada, we have the import prices to pay, and then we have high taxes here in BC, so we've got 15% tax on everything. So that makes it a $115 bottle right there. So tough at that price point, but I think it's an enjoyable bourbon. I think, at a more reasonable price point, $50, that would be a buy for me. I would like to see what Limestone Branch does next. So like, Yellowstone Select even aged a little bit longer. I've heard kind of mixed reviews on the single barrel full proof ones that we don't get the barrel proof single barrels here. Heard kind of mixed reviews on those, but I have heard really good things about their limited edition, especially the one that's finished in Armagnac barrels. So this year's 2021 Yellowstone limited edition is supposedly excellent, but didn't see that here in Canada, unfortunately. So thanks so much for tuning in for another review, guys. Till next time, may your sails be full and your drowns be fuller. Cheers.